Now get ready for the first engaging podium discussion of this year's ZPS, dedicated to the future of customer experience in automotive technology. Join industry leaders as they explore pioneering strategies and technological advancements shaping the automotive landscape. Led by moderator Paolo Pretto from the Virtual Vehicle Research Center, panelist James Jackson from Applus IDIADA, Armin Staehle from Mercedes-Benz, Davide Gaglione from Automotive Lamborghini, and Maurizio Festa from Porsche will explore human-machine interface, HMI developments, and consumer-oriented tactics.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. You still with us? Hope so, right? Just to have some anecdotal joke, we organized a certain order before. Now the order is completely scrambled, so we'll probably mix up the names of the people here, but I hope for their help.
They told me I'm number one, so
Yeah, but for me, number one is over there.
Okay, then.
Anyway, we'll try to do our best. So presentations are over, and I've been told I have the duty, given my background in psychology, to bring a smooth transition from the heavy, intense technology afternoon to the dinner event. So that's what PhD in psychology is for, apparently. But it's, apart from the joke, it's really my pleasure to introduce our four guests today and the topic of this podium discussion. Point is that HMI, so the shaping the future of customer experience around HMI. Probably for 99.9% of you, HMI still means human-machine interface, but that is so 90s. By now, we refer to that using the same acronym for the term, for sake of efficiency. We refer to human-machine interactions. Why that? Because finally, eventually, technology has reached a maturity level, a complexity level, that really enable the user and the technology to interact with each other bidirectionally. So the customer experience, customer not because they buy our product, but because they use our products, is really something that we can put back to the center where it belongs. Because at the end of the day, all the amazing technologies we are developing is for the user to use it, right? If we don't provide a safe, a usable, a comfortable technology, we have failed. So now, after this amazing afternoon of super high quality, technologically based presentations, once again, it's our turn to share with you the different knowledge and experience of our speakers in terms of contributions, what's the work behind developing human-machine interactions, virtual development of virtual machine interactions, and all kind of efforts altogether. So it's a multidisciplinary subject per se, so that's why we have, as I said, on the podium, very different experts. So starting from number one, right? So we have Armin from Mercedes-Benz, we have James from Applus IDIADA, then we have Maurizio from Porsche, and Davide from Lamborghini. Yes, I did it all correct. So, therefore, I would like to not steal any stage time to all of our experts here, and I would like them to briefly introduce themselves. So let's say about 2 minutes to tell our audience, right, what you have, what your job is, and how that concerns the development of HMI. Please.
Okay, only 2 minutes.
Only 2 minutes for you, and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, 2.5. Okay.
I'm older, I have longer. I'm Armin Staehle from Mercedes-Benz in Sindelfingen, and I'm responsible for the driving simulator Mechatronics team. And I think I sit here because we do a lot of subject and expert studies, and there the human-machine interaction interface plays a really important role for driving simulation, for driver-in-the-loop studies. So, personally, I work since more than 35 years for Daimler, Mercedes, also AMG, and personal, because it's a podium discussion, I'm 57, I feel younger sometimes, married, I have 2 lovely children, and I like soccer, VfB Stuttgart, next year we play Champions League, maybe against AC Milano or Inter Milano. I'm not sure. But maybe Champions League could be important for our discussion because we want to play Champions League in HMI studies. Okay.
For sure. You don't forget
Too
you're
long
in Italy
or
right
is
now.
it okay? Was it okay?
No, it's perfect. Perfect.
I forgot something, maybe no. That's it. Thanks.
Okay. Please, James.
Okay, yeah, so I'm James Jackson from Applus IDIADA, based in Spain. I am not Spanish.
In case some of you didn't notice.
My training is as a designer with specialism in human factors, and I started off working as an interface designer at an OEM in the UK. And 6 years ago moved to IDIADA to form part of, I guess, a fledgling human factors team. And since then, we've worked to really develop a product for the automotive industry around human factors, and specifically helping, I guess, our partners with topics around user-centered design and testing. I think for IDIADA, there is a big focus on the safety side. We work specifically with active safety, and that's our principal area of involvement in development, but also we take, I guess, more of a transversal role across topics around, well, vehicle dynamics, electronics, particularly with interface development, and also, I guess, also body design and passive safety as well. And yeah, as personally as well from IDIADA, I represent, I guess, a growing area for human factors within Euro NCAP. With Paolo, I am part of the new human factors and human-machine interaction working group, alongside involvement in occupant status monitoring and development of protocols around that area. I won't talk about football. So.
Thank you, James. Maurizio, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maurizio Festa. I'm development engineer and a specialist in the field of ride comfort and acoustics for more than 10 years. I'm responsible now in the field of ride comfort and acoustic for the Macan Electric. In addition, I'm the technical coordinator for all driving activities regarding NVH and the interaction between the NVH testing, there I'm coming from, and NVH simulation. And finally, I do research, even in the field of human perception and the human response to vibration and acoustics in cooperation with different universities.
Thank you, Maurizio. And then, last but not least, Davide.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Davide Gaglione. I'm in Lamborghini since 2016, and I'm the coordinator of the HMI, Mechatronics, and display area. We, in Lamborghini, are in R&D department inside the electric and electronic department. And I take care about all the activity related to the concept and development of the HMI, and also the hardware part related to the display and the mechatronic, me obviously with my team. Now, and since 2022, we are approaching also on the simulation, that it's something that allow us to improve our user experience and the customer experience on a super sport car, because at the end of the day, now the super sport car, like Lamborghini, are not only powertrain, not only vehicle dynamics, but also user experience inside and outside the cabin. So, nice to meet you.
Great. Thanks a lot. Also to the audience that is following us physically here and online, this is supposed to be a discussion. So if you have a question that is pressing, that you want to stand up and speak out loud about your questions, please feel free to push these guys, including myself, of course. About myself, as I said, my background is psychology, human factors. I'm with virtual vehicle research. a research company based in Graz, Austria, and basically, we are from a similar background in that sense, so in the sense that we do research and testing with vehicles and so on. So we have here on stage now then a multidisciplinary approach. So we hope that really that can bring you some interesting vision on that. Starting with some question. So human-machine interaction, right? And I will follow the same order unless you want to scramble that up again. In terms of human-machine interaction, we know it's important because if we screw that up, the user will not buy the vehicles, right? So we end up with misuse, abuse, or disuse of the system, right? So the people don't use it, give up on using those systems. People abuse of those systems, and in that sense, they incur into dangers, safety issues, or they simply misuse them, right? Which also decreases the comfort of the whole system. So, what do you do for the HMI? What is something that is important in your job that should be part of an HMI system? What is important and what is not? Maybe it's also an interesting point.
Okay, I would, for me, or for us, I think the most important thing is the more complex the systems get, and they get complex, ADAS systems and so on, the more easy and intuitive the user interface or the HMI should be, in our opinion. We see that every day at the driving simulator, that's the real challenge, to keep the HMI simple, easy to use, and even if they are very, very complex systems, that's the challenge.
So essentially, if we want to summarize, you need to make the interface or the function, the others function, explainable somehow, right?
Yeah, and easy for the customer, because they don't want to know how complex the system is. And another point is that the cars, in our opinion, they get more and more, let me say, wellness lounges, cinema, a concert hall, or in-car gaming. So the user interface will change dramatically, in our opinion, or in my opinion.
And the experience with it.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
James, do you have a take on that?
So I think really echo probably from a general perspective. I'd say, well, IDIADA, we work with a diverse range of clients, clearly, and partners. So we take in, I guess, the more luxury or desirable side of the market, but then also the baseline side as well. I think the real point is that interaction is a very global concept. It's not just a screen, as Paolo has already pointed out, and it's bidirectional. It involves inputs and outputs that you receive, and regardless of the exact implementation or the exact objective of a function, those parameters remain consistent, and that goes for an interface screen, yes, but also for a complex ADAS system. The same for an occupant status monitoring system as well. So we need to account for the users in the way that those are being developed and implemented.
Right. So, thanks, James. We had on this side the view of luxury vehicles, right, and testing research facilities. On this side, of course, we have the vision for sport, super sport vehicles. So we're also interested in understanding your take on that.
That was the idea because of the order. Now I understand.
Smooth, huh?
Please, first, I can underline the statements mentioned before. In addition to that, in my opinion, it's important that the system is working. It's a robust system, reliable, and this is the next important aspect. Another one is the regulatory. Maybe you have to update to improve the regulatory or to think about other aspects. And these are two more options.
I think this is also a very interesting point, the regulatory point, because in many of the recent developments, there is no regulation or insufficient regulation. Right?
Correct.
If we consider human-machine interfaces, right, and especially considering that we are also starting to conceive external interfaces in the trend, one of the mega trends that we've heard before today about automation and so on. So there is no regulation about that. So that's quite, let's say, big challenge for all OEMs, right? And that's an
And
interesting
there are
point.
also different regulation for different market. But starting from the definition of the HMI, you mentioned it before, I think I'm pretty sure that everybody of us have a different definition of the HMI. And we can start telling that it's something that is very subjective. So what is the best challenge for the OEM? To put the HMI usable, so allow the user-friendliness of the interaction between the car and the user. The cars nowadays has a lot of functionality, dynamic functionality, entertainment functionality, and the best challenge is to put everything on the table and allow the user to use everything in easy way, avoiding driver distraction, and put, for example, also all the safety and information alert in the right position for give the immediate feedback to the user about the action that he have performed or not.
Thank you. Maybe I can take the opportunity to squeeze in a question that we did not agree upon before, right? So just to get a bit of a chill. Right? So maybe because of the location, the settings, and the overarching topic, and the reason why we are here, right? So maybe you can also explain what's the role of a driving simulator in your job towards the development or the testing or the prototyping of HMI systems. Shall we start from that side now?
Yeah. So the HMI is something that shall be user-oriented, but starting from the fact that it's something subjective, how we can make something subjective objective with the simulation. So involving a lot of people inside but also outside the company, and asking them to put some use case, so some test, easy, and without explain nothing to the user, understand if the task is easy to reach or not. And the simulation is something that help a lot our designer, engineer to develop something that is usable. And can help us also to make some statistics in terms of usability. Driver distraction using high recognition devices for understand also how many time is spent to put a task on board.
I think there are two very important aspects of what you said I would like to highlight again, once again. One is really the inclusion of cognitive aspects of the driver, something that is only possible now, recently, right? And there will be more and more necessary for the near future. So distraction, fatigue, drowsiness, all these kind of aspects that are not necessarily related to driving skill or the perfect ideal driver, right? So that's probably a challenge also in terms of simulation for whatever part we want to simulate and the part that we want to keep with real participant testing. Yeah. And the second aspect, also something that you mentioned, that an interface or an interaction system, let's say, to express in more modern terms, right? It's something that should be usable and easy and understandable for the user the first time. Yeah. So we're not considering that we sell a car and then we ask the user to use it for 10 years, and after that we ask, so is it easy to use? Because that's probably, that's what's going to happen, right? But we give the car and we ask, right now, first time, do this, right? So
and
that's...
This is also difficult because each user has also a different experience, because some user has a car, other user have another car, where, for example, the volume command is placed in a different part of the vehicle. So also the experience of the user increases the level of complexity.
Yeah. That's very good, which is also the reason why in the Euro NCAP, right, we're adopting this criteria. So the evaluation of the safety of interaction system should always be based on first-time user, not on old users that are somehow familiarize with the system. From your side?
Yeah, from my side, I talk with respect to ride comfort and acoustics. Today, it's possible to use simulation and to bring them on simulators. And even the main aspect or the main argument is to evaluate the feeling and the hearing of the cars, even in the early phase of the development, before any prototype exists. And for that, even you have the challenge to understand where the limits of the human behavior and the perception. And for that, you are able to, with that information, you are able to run studies and to decide if you're on the right track or you have some optimizations to do.
So that basically means that, I hope you agree, that the simulator seems to be the optimal tool, the optimal setting where you can bring together the knowledge about the human cognitive system, perceptual system, motor system, sensitivity, and the technology and the development of that technology together, right? And to co-develop the mutual interaction.
Is one instrument for that, correct?
Yeah. James.
So, well, driving simulation really, from our perspective, is a tool for user testing. That is really the gold standard when we want to evaluate something or validate something or research something with respect to users. And that involves putting people or alongside prototype systems within replicable and safe scenarios where we can collect relevant data to understand the effectiveness of interfaces. And also wider systems such as automated driving and ADAS. It allows us to take the testing to the users as well. Something that we, I guess, push quite a lot at IDIADA is our capability to do testing across different locations, and that goes using our simulator in Spain and also in China. Chinese users are in China. We need to understand how they interact differently with concepts. And in terms of validating whether something is effective with respect to safety, with respect to usability, with respect to experience as well, it's imperative that those types of things are taken into account. I would also just add on the regulation side and also the NCAP thing as well, that user testing is becoming more and more relevant in the way that vehicles are approved. We have regulations which request user data within the regulatory approval process. We need to provide data based upon, well, subjective rating scales, looking at potentially dangerous situations with respect to driver condition, and also pushing towards using more prototype control systems as well, for which driving simulators offer that controlled and safe scenario. And the same goes for Euro NCAP, and it's very much pushing in that direction. Accounting for user data and the way that we approve and validate systems.
Thanks, James. I like very much that point because you brought up a very important aspect. The fact that, if I may translate with my own words, there's this ongoing effort of objectifying subjective feeling, right? So this user testing that collects some knowledge about the user through questionnaires, and that is very volatile and difficult to quantify, right? So this is a more and more task that gets more and more required right nowadays, and that also somehow needs some sort of further integration efforts, right? So we need to bring these sort of volatile, subjective qualifications into some quantification metrics, right? And that's probably where the simulator can help a lot. Right?
I was also just going to add that probably occupant monitoring is one of the areas where that is most key. I mean, for exterior sensors, we go and drive on the road. We do testing in some virtual applications, but for occupant monitoring, we need to test with users in vehicles. And as I said, a lot of it comes from, let's say, adverse conditions, states of impairment, and yeah, driving simulators allow us that opportunity to induce those states and look at how they can be detected through large data sets of different users, and again, that diversity in the way that people are physiologically and also cognitively, and sociology.
That one, yes.
Yeah.
We all go.
The one to do with sociology.
What?
Sociologically, yeah.
Okay.
That one.
Please, Armin.
You asked me as a driving simulator responsible, so
Of course.
really, what should I say? Yeah, in my opinion, it's we do a lot. As I mentioned, we do a lot of subject tests, yeah, and with hundreds of test persons, and it's always safe. It's all we can do 100 times the same situation, and that's the advantage in our opinion from a driving simulator. And in the past, last 3 years, we did a lot of level 3 testing for our level first certified level 3 system worldwide in Germany and US. And that was really interesting how the people interact with the system if they have to take over the responsibility and to optimize the interface. And at the last test was really with software in the loop, the real series production software of the ADAS system we tested at the driving simulator, full driver in the loop. That was extremely helpful.
That also sounds a bit of fun, to be honest.
Yeah, to have a look at the people, how they interact.
I mean, not only for the participants, but really, I mean, for the professionals working around
Yeah,
it,
sure.
must be quite some fun, right?
It makes fun. Yeah.
That brings me actually to the next questions, which is about... yes, please, Diego. I guess you need a microphone. Yeah, or you come by here and... yeah.
Congratulations, Paolo, for being able to lead this podium discussion. Not so easy. Also because the subject is very subjective. I have a question about that. So, also we did quite many biometric studies with our simulator. But I'm wondering if all this is turning into something methodological, because it's nice to talk about eye tracking or HRV or things of this kind, but to each of the podium, let's say, participant, I'm wondering, are you developing something more methodological based on objective observation of biometrics together with subjective comment? Because that is really, in my opinion, the goal, or should be the goal.
Thank you, Diego, for your very interesting question.
You're welcome.
So, what about we start from that side again?
Yes, of course, the biometric data are something that allow to have an improvement on the simulation. And this kind of approach is also useful for the track data. So when the user drive during a race, because in this case it's important to catch the emotion of the drivers, also in terms of heart and height and so on. So this is something that we are going to do, also the collection of biometric data.
Maurizio?
I even can underline the words from Davide for racetrack events or activities. It's quite interesting. But even for the aspect of ride comfort, the aspect of Super G rating, this is part of the work. Yeah? We should note the ratings and bring them together with our data. And this is the most important element we should do in our process.
James?
Yes, we do work a lot on methodologies. And also echoed by what Paolo said, the cross between subjective and objective really, I would say, is at the core of human factors. There are some... as we move into a world of autonomous vehicles where we want to look at how people will perceive the technology itself, interact with specific systems like L3 control, it's a brave new world, really. And being able to put people in a simulator where they can experience the environment is one thing, but being able to collect the relevant data and also make them understand the context within which a test is being conducted is really of utmost importance and is what gives the strength to the outcomes of any user testing, really.
Armin?
What can I add? In the past, my colleagues told me in Berlin they did a lot of research in such things, biometric data. If I heard this, we do subject studies, and internally we have an ethical advisory board. That means every study has to pass this board, and maybe it could be sometimes a little critical if we measure such data from personal data. Maybe that you also have to discuss if you do something like that.
Diego, if I may, I would also like to add my 2 cents to that. Right? I think that, I mean, from experience, but also from the literature, the recent literature, right? So it's very difficult. It's a very risky terrain, the one we're moving in with the biometric monitoring, and especially with the biometric interpretation, right? So it is extremely important to carefully design the settings, the scenarios, the triggers, the events, the triggers, specific biological responses, physiological responses that we want to monitor. So it is a very tempting role to say, okay, we measure whatever we can measure, and then we feed it to some AI machine learning algorithm, and they will tell us something. I prefer personally, but many with me, a white box model-based approach. And so you need to understand what is going on. You need to have a certain idea. You need to have a model behind. You need to build that model behind and support that model with the data in order to be able to conclude reliably that there is a certain physiological response or physiological measurable state of the driver in given specific conditions. So it is tempting, sexy, but also challenging. Which, by the way, brings me to probably what's going to be the last question from my side, to the challenges. Challenge is a nice marketing word for things that we don't like and don't work. So then I would like to ask you, what are the challenges that you envision today and in the near future in terms of virtual development, digital twin, software-defined vehicles, mega trends, and their impact in the HMI development? We start from that side. I mean,
how many minutes I have? I think 5. Yes, in my opinion, the Champions League will be, as a vision, if you can really drive the digital real-time twin with all, and you can experience the digital twin with all senses, motion, visual, sound, and touch, everything. And therefore you need so much, I have to tell you. But I think if you want to play Champions League, then you have to, this should be your goal. And we do a lot in this technology. We try, for example, virtual reality, mixed reality, software in the loop, as I mentioned for level 3. But we have to bring in all the electronic stuff with virtual ECUs, virtual networks, everything, so that the driver feels the real car. And even if Ola, once a time, wants to see with a nightly build, he can drive every morning and see the actual status of a new car. But maybe that could be sometimes a little difficult. But that's our vision, to really bring the digital twin on the street.
Yes, we can summarize your contribution into a multi-attribute digital twin, right?
Yes.
I think that
because
would
at the moment, if you talk about digital twin, you only can look at it, look. But as a driving simulator, we want to drive the digital twin, and therefore you need everything. You need high performance computing. Maybe, as Jensen Wang said from NVIDIA, maybe we really need an operating system for digital twins, because you can't tell the developers you have to use this tool. Maybe we need something kind of operating system, maybe Omniverse or something like that, to combine everything together. That's maybe really the challenge. And standards, maybe also an important issue. I can tell the next hour about this topic.
But I'm sorry, I need to stop you because we have 3 minutes left, which will mean 1 minute each for each of you. Please.
So I think probably the overriding term here is new technologies, and really the quantity and diversity of what those entail, and therefore the quantity and diversity of digital twins that therefore need to exist and be implemented into a user testing program. I mean, examples such as artificial intelligence within user interfaces, adaptive functionalities that we need to look at in a validation aspect, but could change quite drastically once they're already on the road. Equally, things like monitoring and sensing, which I've touched on before, but also things like when we look at autonomous vehicles, how people interact with them from the exterior. Quite clearly, that doesn't involve me sitting in a driving simulator and evaluating how that happens. That involves me looking at the vehicle from the outside in a simulation environment. There are technologies which provide, I guess, a vehicle towards doing that, like VR for pedestrians, etc. But it is very much a diversity of different things that need to be accounted for in user validation programs.
Thank you. Maurizio.
Okay, in some words, the main challenge, in my opinion, you should find the balance between usability, safety, and the integration and interaction of the software solution, because we know, I think, the status quo and even the future cars are software-oriented cars.
So fine-tuning, balance and fine-tuning.
Oh, the balance, the right balance between these elements.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Davide.
I totally agree, because the challenge is to find the right compromise to insert all the functionality that every day, every year are coming, the new regulation that now are coming, and find a good way to show all of this functionality to the user, and also find an easy way to interact with all the car functionality. And this can be done also planning the user journey starting from the away, so outside the car, and all the connectivity interaction that can be done via mobile, for example, until the entering in the car and starting driving. So what is most important is to define also all the use case possible that can help also in the simulation phase if something has been done in a good way or not.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, this screen tells me that we have reached the end of our time. I hope you enjoy and appreciated the knowledge that our experts have shared with all of us. So please join me in thanking these amazing speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.